My name is Pax Haymeyer. I'm the Senior Director of Academic Programs here at the Stanford Engineering Center for Global and Online Education at Stanford Online. If you've joined us before and you're wondering what the Stanford Engineering Center for Global and Online Education is, we changed our name from SCPD, or the Stanford Center for Professional Development, earlier this year. We are now, instead of SCPD, we are now CGO. So I'll be talking today a little bit about our credit-bearing programs in artificial intelligence. And I am also joined by my colleague, Petra Perakova, who will be introducing herself.
So hello, welcome everybody. Nice to meet you virtually. My name is Petra Perakova, and I'm the Senior Associate Director of our Computer Science and AI Professional Programs. And I will be talking to you a little bit more about our professional side of the portfolio. And yeah, we're super excited that you're here with us. Hopefully you will have a lot of questions, and please keep them coming. We will try to answer as many as we can throughout this presentation and also kind of at the end. To give you a very quick overview of what we offer at Stanford Engineering Center for Global and Online Education, we offer different options focused on AI for technical professionals, also for business professionals, and also for professionals in healthcare. For the technical professionals, we actually have a very, very thorough portfolio that we'll tell you a little bit more about. So Pax will be talking to you a little bit more about the AI graduate certificate, and I will talk to you a little bit more about the AI professional certificate. But I did want to also make sure that you all know that if you want to preview anything, or like if you're kind of just excited to see what we are covering in our classes, we also have a lot of content available on YouTube. So a lot of kind of the classes that are technical are also available on YouTube. So I did want to kind of give you that information right up front. If you're joining us from different organizations, and maybe you are less interested in kind of the technical details and technical technical backgrounds in artificial intelligence, we also have some offerings that are specifically geared towards the business, on the business side of the portfolio. The kind of the big one that has been developed just recently is a generative AI program that focuses on technology, business, and society. So not even just business and applications, but also kind of ethical considerations that we cover in this program. Then we have mastering generative AI for product innovation. So if we have some product managers out there, or like people kind of interested in kind of developing products, or like finding the right market, this might be the right course to look into. We have building an AI-enabled organization that covers a little bit more kind of about how to go around kind of the recent changes that are coming up, as well as the AI-driven leadership, how to be a good leader, and AI UX design essentials. So this is kind of on the business side of the portfolio. We will not talk much about this part. We will really focus mostly on the technical aspects. But if we do have some people who are more interested in this, like, please let us know if you have any questions, and we will try to respond to those as much as we can. And then also, if we have some healthcare professionals, people working in kind of healthcare medicine, we have AI in healthcare, and also applications of machine learning in medicine, which is specifically kind of also geared towards you if you're coming from the more healthcare background. And I think with that, let me kind of also tell you where to find out more. I encourage you to go to this site if you don't want to kind of type this up in your browser. We also have a lot of links available on the platform. So I believe it's on your kind of top right corner. You will see kind of this page with Stanford online AI courses and programs where you can explore a little bit more. A lot of the options we have here are paid, but as mentioned, we also try to offer a lot of webinars, a lot of sessions, and kind of a lot of material on YouTube if you want to take a look. But yeah, like with that, I will hand over back to Pax, who will tell you more about the graduate certificate option.
Thanks, Petra. And thank you for already posting some questions. Again, please continue to ask them. Just to respond to one off the bat here is, we don't make the slides available, but that link that you can see in your interface, that will take you to a page that has all the information we're going to cover today and more too. So you can really go in and dive into comparing these programs. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the AI graduate certificate that's available through Stanford Online. So first, to back up, what is a graduate certificate? So the certificate, generally speaking, is it is accredited through the same regional accreditor that accredits Stanford's degrees. it consists of four graduate level courses. And these are the actual courses that are happening on campus. You take them for credit, earn a transcript. You take them as an online student at the same time as the on-campus student. So that's usually between 12 and 20 units of work. And you have about 3 years, you have up to 3 years to complete that certificate. So the cost is on a per unit basis, and you can see an estimate here of what the cost is with this year's tuition. Tuition does come up, it changes every year, along with it does on Stanford. And that's kind of the core of the graduate certificate. So it's a credit-bearing certificate made up of 4 credit-bearing courses, and you have about 3 years to complete it. Now, just to take a look at, this is a snapshot of the courses that are currently available or part of that certificate. And what you'll see is there's actually one required course, either machine learning, which is CS 229, or artificial intelligence principles and techniques, which is the core introductory artificial intelligence course available at Stanford for graduate students. In addition to that, you can complete up to 3 electives. Up to because you could complete both 229 and 221, both machine learning and artificial intelligence principles and techniques, and then 2 electives, or you can complete either CS 229 or 221 and 2 electives. And there are a lot of electives in there. You can look through them, and we add more periodically, and we have additional courses that aren't listed there but are related to artificial intelligence. And if you take one of those courses, then you can petition the department to have it count towards the certificate as well. So those would be things like what we're offering this quarter, large language modeling from scratch, or sometimes we have natural language. I think it's natural language understanding for speech. So there are different kinds of courses as well that aren't listed here, but that are available, and you can petition to have it count. So again, these are what's required are 4 graduate level courses. So what does that actually mean when I say the actual course? So what happens, the way we do it is the class is happening on campus, right? So we're going to follow the academic quarter. So spring quarter started today. Today is the first day of spring quarter. So there are courses happening on Stanford's campus. We have extended a handful of those, well, actually up to 70 each quarter, out to online students. You enroll as an online student, you're taking the same class, you're responsible for the same assignments, you're responsible for the same deadlines, you're doing the same work as the on-campus students, and you're joining as an online student. So each of those courses are going to vary, just as they did at your university. They'll vary by the instructor. Even the same course, which can be offered multiple times a year, may vary a little bit depending on which instructor is offering it. Generally, there will be a mix of written programming assignments, projects, exams, problem sets. It'll, again, vary from course to course. The lectures themselves usually are not available for real-time interaction. We're recording them as they happen. You can live stream them, or you can watch the recording after the lecture completes at your convenience. Now, again, just to remind you, it's the actual Stanford graduate course, so you're following the academic calendar, so it's not like you can wait to watch those lectures. You still need to watch them in a fairly timely way to make sure you're keeping up with the coursework and meeting all the deadlines. When you complete the course, you do earn a Stanford transcript, and you can earn Stanford units. Now, if you were to be admitted into a master's degree here at Stanford, you could apply up to 18 of those units towards the degree, if those units are relevant to the degree. So obviously, if you're taking artificial intelligence courses and maybe you pursuing a master's in English, may not apply. And then second, of course, you have to be admitted into the degree, and the final approval for applying those units does lie with the department itself. And finally, as you take these courses or continue to take these courses, you do need to earn a B or better. You're not admitted into Stanford. You're being approved on a course-by-course basis to take these classes, and you do need to earn a B or better to continue taking classes and to earn the certificate. So let me say a few more things about it. So who are maybe taking a step back and just talking through who are some of the students who are interested in this. So it is a very flexible program. It's not as flexible as the professional program, which we'll talk about, but it is very flexible. Again, you have to follow the academic deadlines. We follow the academic quarters. You are following along with an academic class. And these are intense graduate level courses. Most students report spending 15 to 25 hours a week on a single course, right? They're very intense technical courses. They're graduate level computer science, mechanical engineering, or aero and astronautics courses. So they're intense courses. But you have this flexibility. You're not enrolling in a degree program, so you don't need to be continuously enrolled. So maybe you're interested in taking a course this summer. You take the course this summer, come fall quarter, you've got a big project at work. You don't need to take a course in fall quarter. You could enroll again in the following winter quarter or in spring quarter, right? The key thing is you just need to, if you're interested in the certificate, you need to complete all that coursework by the end of 3 years in order for it to count towards the certificate. That said, you don't need to pursue the certificate. You can just take individual courses, either within the certificate or as part of other certificates. So maybe you're not interested in the certificate, you just want to take 1 or 2 courses, and then you see another 1 or 2 courses in another certificate that you're interested in. That's fine as well. The thing to note, as I said, is you have that flexibility. And so what we're seeing is we generally see 2 types of students. There are a lot of students who come who are maybe already have an advanced degree. Maybe you already have a PhD or a master's. Maybe you already have a PhD or master's in computer science. But as new developments happen, you're interested in kind of refreshing your skills or filling a particular gap that you had in your PhD program. Maybe you didn't have artificial intelligence and you specialize in something else, and now you see the demand and you want to come back and study it. Well, that's a perfect use case here. You come in, you take 1 or 2 courses, you fill that gap, you do some coursework, you understand the fundamentals you learn to understand those fundamentals. Another example are students who are maybe earlier mid-career, who are interested maybe in going back to graduate school. And so they want to see if graduate school is right for them. They want to see if Stanford's right for them. And so they'll take a handful of courses and they'll test it out. And again, these are the same courses that are happening on campus, right? So if you're successful here, that indicates you might be successful in a graduate program here or elsewhere. Now, if you're interested in artificial intelligence, but you're not quite ready, and let me jump, I'm going to jump into the prerequisites in a second. We do have other programs available, including introductory programming or foundations of computer science. So these are similar graduate certificates that are going to give you the foundational work in programming and some of the mathematics. We don't offer all the prerequisites through Stanford Online, so you may, if you don't have the background, for instance, in a lot of the math like calculus and linear algebra, you may need to look elsewhere to build up those prerequisites, to build up that knowledge. Let me pause here for a second to see. I see questions about admissions process. Let me take a look at that. So these are some great questions. So let me keep moving through because I'm going to talk about the admissions process very soon. And so I'll answer that question, and then I'll come back to this great question of right now as well about prerequisites. So in general, if you're going to be successful in the graduate courses, you're going to need the prerequisites. So there are some hard prerequisites that everyone needs, which the first thing is you do need a converted bachelor's degree, and you generally, you're going to generally need a GPA of at least 3.0 or better. Now, you're approved on a course-by-course basis by the home department of that course. So each department is going to set slightly different kind of baseline prerequisites that they need for any course that you're going to take there. So when you go to the course catalog, click on the course, you can scroll down, and you should be able to see what the prerequisites are, the baseline prerequisites for that particular course are. Now, in addition to that kind of baseline, a bachelor's degree with a 3.0 or better, is that you're also going to need college calculus and linear algebra, usually multivariable calculus. You're going to need to have probability theory, and you're going to need to have a strong programming experience. That's going to be just something that that's kind of the baseline for taking any of these artificial intelligence courses. Other courses might have higher requirements. There might be additional math or additional specific programming requirements. Again, take a look at the individual course. You're not being admitted into a program, you're being reviewed and approved on a course-by-course basis. So we leave it up to you to review, make sure you meet those prerequisites. And so when you're submitting your application, and the department reviews it, they can see those prerequisites there. And I see a question about, it's been a long time since you've taken some of those courses. They will look through your transcripts. Part of the application process will be submitting your undergraduate or graduate transcripts, and they will review those, and they'll see if you meet the prerequisites for the course and the general prerequisites for the department. And if you do, and they'll consider other things, but generally if you do, they'll approve you to take the course if there's a seat. But if you haven't taken it in 10 years, you're going to, of course, struggle to keep up with the course material. So I do recommend, reviewing that material. I think we have some resources that we can that we link to on our site where you can review the calculus, the linear algebra, but you can usually use just a lot of the free resources that are available out there. Most of the courses will also have review sessions on some of the core concepts and material, including linear algebra and calculus and probability theory, to get you back up to speed if you haven't taken it in a while, because you generally don't need everything in linear algebra. You may only need certain portions of it. So they'll kind of highlight the key aspects of these different aspects of math and that you're going to need, and they'll help you walk through it. But you do want to make sure you're up to speed on that. One other thing I'll say about this is a majority of those artificial intelligence graduate level courses do have public-facing websites. You can just Google the course number, Stanford, and it'll pull it up. And there they're going to have more detail about the prerequisites. Sometimes they'll even have some early problem sets that you'll be able to look at to see how comfortable you are with the level of the material before you enroll. And finally, I'll say, as Petra did, is that we have a lot of the lectures as well for these courses available on our YouTube channel, Stanford Online YouTube channel. So that's another good way to kind of set a baseline of how much you need to review and what the level of these courses will be. You can go on our Stanford Online YouTube channel. You can watch some of the lecture recordings from machine learning, from natural language understanding, from natural language processing, and from what others? We have deep learning. We have a lot of them up there, reinforcement learning. So take a look at those. It'll give you a good sense of the level and the difficulty of the courses. So that's all building towards what the application is. Now, again, as I said, you're not approved for the program. You're approved on a course-by-course basis. You don't need to pursue the whole certificate. You can just take individual courses. You can do as you like, as long as you continue to do well in the courses. So what you'll need to do is go to our website, Stanford Online, create an account, and then you'll submit a non-degree option application. And what the core requirements there is short statement of purpose, some personal information, your professional background, and then your educational background. And that's going to involve your official university transcripts. And we want to see everything, including your undergraduate, your master's, PhD if you have it. We just need, the most important, of course, is the undergraduate, because that's the baseline of what you need. Once you've submitted that application, it is not reviewed by anyone until you enroll in a course. And that step 3 is really, really important. So once you've submitted that application, you go in, you choose the course you want to enroll in, and you select Enroll Now. Your application is on file, it's submitted. The department will then submit that application to the department to review to see if you meet the requirements for that particular course. Now, let's say you take that course, you complete that course, you do well on that course. Then you can look at the next quarter you want to enroll in it. You select the next class, you enroll in that class. We again send your application to the department, and this time along with your Stanford transcripts, they will review all that. And again, they will review and either approve or reject you for that next course. So it really is on a course-by-course basis. You're not admitted into a program. You're not admitted into Stanford. You're being approved to take you're being approved on a course-by-course basis, one course at a time. So let me pause here, see if there's some other, some good questions I see. Great, and great question about enrollment periods. So because we're on the quarter process, enrollment is not continuously open for these courses. We usually open enrollment about 2 months before the quarter begins. So the next enrollment period will be for summer. It opens on April 7th, which is actually next week. So on April 7th, our enrollment will open for summer courses that are starting in June. In late July, early August is when enrollment will open for our autumn quarter courses. It's only once that enrollment opens that we really have a finalized schedule, but you can go to our site, and we're working on better ways to kind of show you what the full year schedule is. But generally, when you come right before the beginning of the quarter, you'll be able to see, right at the beginning of our enrollment period, you'll be able to see which courses are available for enrollment that year, and then you just click on enroll. So there are 4 enrollment periods. They start about 2 months before the quarter begins. And it's during that enrollment period that you can enroll for the courses for the upcoming quarter. So again, for summer, it opens on April 7th, and those are for courses starting in mid-June. And for autumn quarter, it will be opening late July, early August for courses starting in late September. And you can go to our website and go to graduate programs and courses, and you can see our full academic calendar, which shows the enrollment periods for all the quarters. And we will have our one for the next academic year should be up in the next couple weeks. Okay.
And Pax, a follow-up question about this was about classes being available, and some folks are wondering kind of like why some of the enrollments might be closed right now. So can you tell a little bit more about kind of what to expect from the upcoming quarters and when classes open?
All courses are closed for enrollment right now because the enrollment period closed. The quarter has begun. We close is a great question. So if you're matriculated students, their enrollment period goes all the way through basically the first 3 weeks of the quarter because they can swap and shop courses. The enrollment for non-degree students opens earlier, but it closes about 2 weeks before the quarter. And the reason for that is that, as I said, everyone is reviewed every single time they enroll in a course. So we need that time period to review all the applications to make sure all the paperwork is in place. So right now, no enrollment is open. Spring quarter has already started. We're not accepting any more applications for courses that's starting the spring quarter. But next week, enrollment will open for summer quarter, and you can then enroll in summer quarter courses. Yeah, so that's a good question.
And then there were more questions about the prerequisites and what they need to submit, and if some specific kind of document would work, if they should have like kind of great grades, or if it's like sufficient just to submit a transcript, and kind of learning more about the step 2 over here.
Yeah, this is a great question. So I see, let me question that just came in. The application process is going to be different depending on the program you're applying for. So the application process, I just lay it out. It's for any credit-bearing course that you want to take or any graduate certificate that you're pursuing. Right now, we're focusing on the AI graduate certificate, but we have 30 graduate certificates that you could pursue and about 200 courses a year that you could take, not just in artificial intelligence. In terms of the prerequisites, we're generally, so it will depend on the specific prerequisite, but generally for a math prerequisite, the departments will want to see something on an official transcript. So something from an accredited university here or abroad, and they're going to want to see a grade usually on that. So if you did a Coursera on linear algebra, they're probably not going to accept a Coursera on linear algebra, but they would take a linear algebra class in your undergraduate transcript. For programming experience, they're usually much more flexible because a lot of people develop that through their professional, through their work. So if you have a strong background otherwise, but you don't have any programming courses on your transcript, but you can explain either through your work experience or through your statement of purpose how you meet those programming prerequisites, then they will often consider you for these courses. So for instance, if you have a background in physics, but you've been working as a programmer for the past 4 years, and you're self-trained and you know Python and C++ and et cetera, they'll generally consider that. But for the math courses, they're going to want to see something on your transcript for those particular courses. It will depend on the department too. Some departments are very strict about that. They're going to want to see it. The requirement, interestingly, that most students get caught up on is multivariable calculus. They're going to want to see over a year of college level calculus on your certificate. But again, on your transcripts. But it's going to depend on the department. Some departments will be a little bit more flexible on that. So, yeah. And
then I saw a couple more questions maybe about a graduate program. One of them, Pax, is about kind of being abroad and being able first to kind of apply, and second kind of being able to follow. So maybe we have people in Europe or Asia and they are not sure if they will be able to participate. And yeah, if they will have some classmates, maybe even from like other countries than the US.
Yeah, great question. So this is a global program. So we do have students from all over the world. Now, the majority of our students are located in the US, but we do have students from all over the world. And you can apply from pretty much anywhere. And so, yes, you can do it if you're in Europe. You can do it if you're in Canada. I think the caveat here is that obviously there can be challenges. The ability to take an actual class that's happening on campus is both an opportunity and a challenge. It's an opportunity because you are literally taking the same class as the on-campus students are. You're following along with the same material. You're attending office hours usually on Zoom to talk to TAs to get answers. You're posting on the same forums where they're posting questions for the teaching team. The challenge, of course, is that you might be in a different time zone. And so it can be a challenge to join those Zoom sessions, et cetera. Usually the teaching teams do the best they can to accommodate different time zones and work schedules, because most people are actually also working full time. So even if you're local and you may not be able to attend anything between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. So there can be challenges around that. The teaching teams do their best. We do have a pretty generous drop policy, which is you can drop up to the third week of the course for a full tuition refund minus right now $100 processing fee, a drop processing fee. So what would happen is we would encourage you to join, and that, say you're going to take a course this summer, join that first week. And in summer, it's the end of the second week because summer is a shorter quarter. But you join that first week, you take a look at the syllabus, you take a look at the available office hours, maybe you ask some questions from the teaching team about availability of things and how it might work for you as a student in, say, Germany or in Japan. And then if you can't do it, then you drop the course. But generally, they'll make accommodations and they'll work it out for students even overseas. So it is possible overseas. We have plenty of students who do it. But again, as would be expected, there can be challenges at doing it from a different time zone or while you're working full time. And so...
Yes, sir.
And there's not necessarily a recency requirement, right? They're going to look at, and I see these questions about how recently you took the prerequisite. Generally, they're not going to look at how recently you took the prerequisite. There could be exceptions to that, but I would say as a general rule, they're not going to look at, okay, you only did it, you did it 10 years ago, it's not acceptable. But they will expect that if you've done it 10 years ago, that you are going to review it and be up to speed when you join the course, when you join the course. So the burden will fall more on you to make sure that you're up to speed and you review that crucial course material. Again, a really valuable resource, especially for a lot of these artificial intelligence graduate courses, is to go and review the public-facing website if it's available. And you can get a sense of what the problem sets are. They'll often have review material or highlight what part of a particular math is really important for the course. And that's something you can start doing, even before as soon as you submit that application and request to enroll in the course, you can go in and start reviewing, just to get a sense of what's going to be involved. Course deadlines are going to be in the Pacific time zone, right? It follows Stanford's deadlines. We're in California.
And Pax, maybe one last question. I did see a few people interested in a master's degree or kind of following up and kind of learning more, or maybe kind of getting admitted to Stanford as a graduate student at some point. Like, does this help, or like how would you think about the differences?
Yeah, so a couple of things to note. As I said earlier, if you take courses as a non-degree student, you can apply up to 18 of those units towards a relevant master's degree if you're admitted into the degree and pending final department approval. And again, those have to be relevant units. A fair number of students do that. Is being a non-degree student a benefit? It doesn't hurt, but it's not like a fast track into the master's degree. The master's degrees at Stanford are incredibly competitive. They obviously have a lot of students who are coming directly from Stanford applying to those degrees or who have backgrounds at Stanford. So the non-degree, the non-degree courses, again, you can submit that transcript, your Stanford transcript, along with your other transcripts as part of your master's degree application. But it's not a special gateway or backdoor into the master's program. You'd be considered along with all the other applicants, and they would absolutely, I think, take a look at your Stanford transcript as part of that, but it's not a backdoor. Let me add one more thing to that, which is that many of these master's degrees in the School of Engineering are also available as on a part-time and or online basis. In most cases, what that means is you apply and you're admitted into the master's degree. It's the same master's degree. You're applying, you're admitted into the same master's degree, and then you can select to pursue it as what we call an honors cooperative student on a part-time basis with the option to do coursework online. Now, some of the degrees, like computer science, can be completed fully online, but not every course is available online. Not every course in every depth area is available online. So if you were interested in that, and let's say you're in New York and you're interested in pursuing the degree and you were admitted in the master's program, you could go ahead and pursue it. You could probably complete the whole degree online, but you're going to have a limited selection of courses that you can do fully online. And that's something that you also depend on final department approval, right? So you would be admitted in the degree, and then you would make a request to pursue it on a part-time or online basis. And different departments are going to have different rules around that. They'll have different guidelines about who can be a part-time student, and they'll have different guidelines about transferring from part-time to full-time status. Other questions?
I think that covered at least most of them.
Great.
From what I've seen. But let us know if you have any other ones, or if we missed anything, let us know, and we can follow up also at the end of the session. Okay, great. So I can now tell you a little bit more about the professional program portfolio, or kind of the professional program in AI we have. So Pax was talking about a graduate version. Now I will be talking about a professional version, which is based on kind of the graduate version equivalent. So I will be talking to you about some of the classes we have available, but just to kind of note right up front, the classes are still very challenging, and they cover the same depth and breadth of the subject as the graduate program. We just offer some additional flexibility that I will show you, maybe for those who might not necessarily need the credit, or kind of they might be kind of like tied with their employer to like take some specific programs or courses or something like that. So I will tell you a little bit more about that. I also did see that some people are interested maybe in some other offerings we have. I think hopefully you got kind of an email address included with the invitation to this webinar, which I think is like, we just recently changed it, so I unfortunately don't remember it by heart. But please let us know if you have any questions about those sessions, or if you have some questions about that now, and we will try to get to that at the end. But as noted in the beginning, we will try to cover kind of mainly the graduate and the professional program in this specific session. So that's kind of a long introduction. So talking more about the AI professional program, we currently have 8 classes available. You will see kind of, if you look into the detail, that they are actually kind of graduate course equivalent. So when Pax was talking about CS229 machine learning, we are talking about XCS229 machine learning. When Pax was talking about CS224 and natural language processing with deep learning, we have XCS224 and natural language processing with deep learning. We run these classes kind of off academic schedule with some other kind of modifications we made. So the upcoming classes, as they are coming, the next one is machine learning with graphs, which is starting next Monday. Then we have machine learning starting on May 5th. And then the next class is May 19, deep generative model. So you see they kind of run off cycle a little bit. And most of the enrollments are currently open, with the exception of maybe 2 classes that are currently paused. So like if you see these 2 classes, they're currently in pause. We are not sure if we will run them again, but we are kind of trying to gather interest and talk to faculty about next steps. If you are kind of wondering right up front about like which class is good to take first, and you're not really sure, I will probably point you to Artificial Intelligence Principles and Techniques, which is a little bit kind of class that is covering a lot of the concepts in artificial intelligence, so it can give you really good overview, wide overview of different aspects, and then you can kind of get a little bit more familiar with like different aspects of AI and dive a little bit deeper. If you already have some background in AI, though, we have just recently kind of recorded a short video kind of telling you a little bit about different paths or like which courses to take based on your prior knowledge and experience. And we link that resource in the additional resources on the platform. So hopefully you see it. I think it's like one of the last links. So that's a question that always comes up, and I did want to note it down in the beginning. But to tell you a little bit more about how we run that and what kind of additional flexibility means in this case, it means that we use the recorded lectures with Stanford faculty that will run as part of the graduate offering. And then we kind of segment them by topic and kind of remove some additional kind of maybe optional content to focus on the core aspects, with the goal of not making it simpler, but maybe making it a little bit more focused. But what it means also usually is that we don't have any kind of final exams. We usually don't have any project work as part of the courses, and we usually try to kind of focus on the core assignments. So maybe in the graduate class, you will have final exam, project, and 6 assignments. We will kind of scale it down together with faculty and maybe focus on just 5 core assignments instead of like the full set of like the kind of the criteria for the graduate class. We run these sessions kind of throughout the year, usually twice or 3 times a year, depending on the cohort. Some of the classes run only once. And we run them in 10-week sprints or cohorts with approximately 160 learners in each cohort. We still kind of use the same set of written and programming assignments. We try to sometimes add additional links, but I would say it doesn't always happen. But where we spend a lot of time on are auto-graders to try to kind of help you debug a little bit more and kind of get a little bit more feedback as you are working towards the assignments, maybe. There were some questions in the kind of chat or like at the inbox about support. So Pax was describing to you that like they're usually teaching assistants as part of the graduate versions. We have course facilitators who took the graduate class and who are supporting our cohorts with content related questions. So if people have questions about kind of the assignments, lectures, like something going on, they have a chance to connect with their course facilitator and kind of individual calls or like ask in a Slack community or ask questions. So I think some people are wondering, is it just email or like, like how does it work? Like we definitely offer a lot of support in both the graduate and the professional program to try to help you through that. And I already mentioned a Slack community, which is pretty vibrant. You can always take classes kind of one by one and decide that maybe that's it. This is like a specific class I want to take for some specific reason with my employer, or you can take 3 classes and then you would be getting AI professional certificate. So again, like if you take 1 class, you will still be getting a certificate. If you take 3 classes, you will be getting the AI professional certificate kind of in addition to the course certificates. There is a question kind of about the final exam. Right now, we don't have any final exam as part of any of the AI professional courses. This is just an example of a schedule. We kind of give you all the materials right from the beginning. So you have access to all the content, all the assignments from day one. And then we have kind of a structure of assignment deadlines that are staggered towards throughout the 10 weeks. So you always have kind of some time to complete the assignments. I talked to you a little bit more about kind of the written assignments or what to expect. Like here's a screenshot, which might be a little bit hard to read probably, but if you are able to read it, it's basically kind of very similar to the graduate version, right? Like we really ask a lot about, like there might be some math, like it's not necessarily easy to complete that. We also have like a lot of proofs and things like that, especially I would say machine learning classes coming up soon. And I know a lot of people are thinking about it as a good starting point. I definitely agree, but I would still encourage you to sign up if you do have kind of a solid background in kind of math, college math and linear algebra. Programming assignments, we develop kind of robust auto-graders to like help you work through that. And they're all written in pure Python. We often don't even allow kind of common packages because the idea is to really try to like get you learn things from scratch, but it depends a little bit on the class. I don't want to like suggest that they are not practical or applicable. They are definitely very helpful. If you really want to get a solid background in the field to be able to approach very difficult problems. But I did want to also tell you that like you should still expect them to be pretty hard for completing. Support and community, this is what we value a lot. So we kind of connect you with a course facilitator who will be available via Zoom calls, emails, and Slacks to respond to your content related questions. And there's a lot of kind of people already as part of Slack. So it's a good chance also to meet other kind of fellow learners from all around the globe and like having a chance to talk to them, connect with them, and kind of maybe like create some group teams to work on the assignments. Prerequisites, I will not talk about this in too much detail because it's very similar to the graduate program and to the things that Pax was describing. We do not require such a kind of long application or you uploading the transcripts. Basically, we ask you a few questions where we try to kind of get a more understanding of like what your background is and if you're able to kind of follow the assignments, which means that you should be able to explain like how proficient you are in Python. you should be able to explain kind of like your level of college calculus, linear algebra, and probability. Maybe you like took some engineering degree, or like maybe you were taking some classes in the past that cover this. So this is what we are looking for in the application. And we also ask a little bit more about your background. So we just kind of know, but the application, I would say, is fairly short. Usually people complete it in like 10 to 20 minutes maximum, but we ask you to kind of present enough details. The resource I pointed out before, kind of the video with good classes to take, or like good sequence, or kind of like a good path to take, also includes a little bit more information about each particular class and kind of like what specific prerequisites might be helpful. I gave you an example of like XCS 229 machine learning. We still require the same prerequisites, but that specific class is very heavy on kind of math and like logical proofs. And kind of like it does include a lot of written assignments. So like maybe the prerequisites, even though they are the same, depending on your prior knowledge and experience, you might need to catch up a little bit more than for other classes like XCS 221, artificial intelligence and techniques. And I think with that, I will probably wrap this up, but let me take a look at the Q&A box or Ask Pax if we have seen anything that we should bring up.
I think there are a couple that just go into the relationship between the two programs and why you might pursue one over the other. And so, again, these are the two certificate programs side by side. And again, you don't have to pursue the certificate in either. You can take individual courses in either one. And the key differences are laid out here. So again, for the graduate certificate, you're taking the actual Stanford graduate course. The time commitment is going to be a little bit more than with the professional certificate, sometimes a lot more. You do earn credit, and the price is on a per tuition and will usually be substantially more expensive. So usually between $4,000 and $6,000 for a course versus around $2,000 for a professional course. The content, though, is very similar. In terms of the support, in the graduate certificate, you're going to have access to the forums where people all students post questions, some office hours. You may have access to office hours with the instructors, but it's also possible those office hours fill up very fast. These are very large classes, not just for the online students, but the on-campus students. So there may be 2 instructors, 30 TAs, and 600 students. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a lot of or any one-on-one time with the instructor. On the professional certificate side, right, again, slightly lower time commitment, but still covering the same material, right? We've as Petra explained, we've adjusted it in order to make it a little bit more flexible and geared towards a professional learner who doesn't have the time to go into as great depth as you would on the graduate course. You don't earn graduate credit. You do get a professional certificate and and you're eligible for continuing education units. And then in terms of the support, we do have industry experienced facilitators who have taken the material, the graduate course, and are familiar with the material, and they would be following along, helping you answering questions on Slack. So there are similar experiences, there's similar core material, slightly different experiences, and what you want to think about is what's most important to you. Is it that flexibility? You're less interested in the projects and you're just interested in mastering the material, and you're a little bit more sensitive to the price, then maybe the professional certificate is right for you. If you really want that graduate credit, you want to do the full, go as deep as you can, then the graduate certificate is going to be right for you. Petra, would you add anything else there?
And I would also say, and somebody asked about kind of the minimum credit for the professional program or anything like that. So our professional program is pass-fail. So we provide you with a certificate if you're able to pass the class, and passing rate is 70%. So like if you achieve 70% kind of throughout the class, you will be getting the certificate. In the graduate program, you will be getting kind of credit. So you will be getting the certificate and you will be getting, so it also depends a little bit on kind of what you need, what you're looking for. And I would definitely say there were some questions, kind of why would you choose one over the other ones? I think Pax described it very well. We see some people really want to go in that breadth, like they want to take the exam, they do want to do the project, they do want to kind of follow alongside the graduate version, right? So like kind of teach alongside of the Stanford graduate students. So it's definitely a great option for them to enroll in the graduate certificate. If you're kind of less focused on that, and you maybe have a little bit less time available, you will get everything kind of from day one in the AI professional program, and then you can kind of like keep working almost on your own pace, right? Like we have some assignment deadlines, but like you can work on it a little bit more flexibly. And at the end, like if you succeed, you will be getting the certificate, but there is no kind of graduate credit or anything like that. So that's what I would say. We also sometimes get questions like, why would you kind of decide to take any of these if materials are available kind of online? It's definitely also a great question. So we definitely offer a lot of support, definitely a lot of accountability, right? Like for any of these options, like I know myself, like if I try to learn something kind of on my own, like without having some sort of a deadline structure or anything like that, it might be hard. And also without being able to ask questions and follow up. This content is very hard, as both Pax and myself kind of described to you. So it's pretty challenging. And also how exciting it is to like take classes along with the Stanford students, or like take the Stanford content kind of directly from us is definitely a big value. I don't know, Pax, if you would anything else to that, but those are the main reasons I usually tell people. Obviously, there are many more with the community kind of and all of that. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we're part of Stanford. I mean, one of the goals here is just to make this material more broadly available. And so we have it available kind of all through freely. We have material available on YouTube that you can watch it. For those of you who are motivated or don't need to go in depth or just want to kind of watch the lectures, that's available. Not for all the courses, to be clear, just some of the courses, only some of the courses, both in the professional and in the graduate. And of course, the lectures in the graduate are redone every year. We're recording them live in the classroom. And then for YouTube, we maybe have ones from 3 or 4 years ago. So there's that as well. But then the professional certificate, as Petra said, it's just going to depend on what your level of commitment is, how deep you want to go into this material. They're both about 10 weeks long, but the professional certificate doesn't necessarily follow the quarter system, right? So they're going to be launching courses maybe multiple times a year, whereas with the graduate course, may only be offered once a year. So there may be more opportunities to take some of the courses through the professional certificate. The other thing to note is some people asked about, can you do both at the same time? Absolutely. And that's another really nice feature here. There are quite a few of our students and learners who do look at these as complementary or even having a synergy between them. And one aspect of that is, for the professional certificate, you need to take 3 courses. But you can take 1 graduate course and have it count towards the professional certificate. So some students will take 2 core courses to the professional certificate, then take essentially an elective that's not available in the professional certificate as a graduate course, and then they'll count that towards the professional certificate. On the flip side is that, and the other piece where that can be very valuable, someone asked about how hard are these graduate classes. They can be quite hard. So sometimes a student won't get a B in the graduate course, but they can still count it towards the professional certificate. I think if they get a C- or better, you can still count it towards the professional certificate. So it allows you, I didn't do as well as I had hoped in that graduate course, but I can still, take 2 more professional classes and earn that professional certificate as well. The other thing to note is that in terms of prerequisites, the professional courses are very similar to the graduate courses. So if you take XCS 229, which is the professional machine learning class, that can count towards satisfying the prerequisite for a graduate course that requires that. If you take 220, if you take those courses as well in the professional course, you can essentially place out of them for the graduate certificate. And instead of taking a core course and 3 electives, you could just take 4 electives. So there's a nice synergy between the 2 programs. You always need to take 4 courses for the graduate, 4 credit-bearing courses for the graduate certificate. You always need to take 3 courses for the professional certificate, but there's a synergy between the 2 of them that a lot of learners take advantage of. And so some people, especially because the price difference can be substantial, they'll take a couple courses in the professional and take others that aren't available in the professional through the graduate certificate. Let's see here.
For the professional program, I also saw some questions about kind of the maximum number of enrollment, or when the applications close, or something like that. So if you go to kind of the AI professional program website, you will see the cohort dates. This is when the classes are actually running. The enrollments close on the day when the class is starting, though I would always encourage you to kind of enroll a little bit earlier to be able to join our orientation session, and kind of being able to join and kind of maybe ask questions in the beginning before the class even starts. and we don't have kind of the maximum number of enrollments. Sometimes it happens that a lot of people enroll very last minute, and maybe we were not like 100% ready, or there are some other reasons kind of related to something else kind of organization-wise that kind of require us to put a kind of like a wait list on, but it, I would say, standardly doesn't happen. I think the last time this happened was for deep generative models, which like so many people enrolled that we were kind of like able to get as many course facilitators as we could, but at some point we basically had to like put a wait list on, but it's happened kind of maybe a day before the class actually started. So I definitely encourage you to still like apply and try to enroll early. The applications are reviewed on an ongoing basis, but like we ask you to give us a few days to kind of review, because we still review those manually. But yeah, like I would say like no specific kind of limit or anything to be aware of, that there is like you need to apply, I don't know, a week before or something like that. I just still encourage you to do it as early as possible.
On the credit-bearing side, the courses can fill up, and some of them have a pretty limited enrollment for non-degree students, or for any students for that matter. So usually the enrollment period is about 6 weeks long. And we do encourage you, especially for some of the bigger classes, and those would be things like machine learning, artificial intelligence, principles and technique, natural language processing, to enroll in those, in the beginning of that enrollment period. They're not going to fill up on the first day, but they might fill up by week 3 or week 4. So if you wait till the end of the enrollment period, then you may find that you're on a wait list. So those can fill up. And again, the caps on those courses can vary a lot. It's going to be a conversation usually with the department and the faculty member and us. Most of them don't have, we could take a lot of students and they never hit their cap. But for some of them, they'll have, very limited enrollment. And we usually will say that if it's a limited enrollment class on the course website. We had a question that I wanted to address about the credit-bearing program. So if you take a credit-bearing course as a non-degree student, there's a question about access to campus. You're expected to be an online student. You do get a Stanford email and Stanford login credentials for the period of time when you're actively enrolled in the course. You get access to the Stanford's library's online materials, but you don't get access to the actual physical library. That said, anybody in the community can go in and buy a library card at the Stanford Library. So if that's important, that's something you can do without even enrolling through us. I think you can go to the library and ask about library cards. There's information on their website as well. We're nearing the end of the time, but do you see some other questions? Good answer, I guess, about the differences between the professional courses and edX and Coursera. Again, a major difference is the two major differences, of course, the level of the material. These are graduate level, these are based on the graduate courses at Stanford. They're graduate level material. They're going to be very foundational. They're going to be very technical, a lot of math and programming. And then two, of course, is that there are, we run these with facilitators, right? So you're not just on your own, you're working with a cohort of other students and you're being supported by facilitators. See here, other questions, Petra, that we missed?
I see a question kind of about the other side of the portfolio, maybe the business side or the healthcare side, and kind of being able then to kind of apply it and maybe develop your own LLM or something like that. So I would say that part of the portfolio is more specifically geared towards business professionals or the healthcare professionals that might have less prerequisites, meaning that you don't have the level of college math, or like maybe you're not interested in this depth and breadth of the subject. But it's also what then you can expect a little bit from the content, right? Like we will start more from basics and kind of like cover the basics with you. So in terms of kind of going and applying it and developing your own code and being able to develop your LLM, that might be harder. So I think this is what we are talking about with PACS in the graduate and professional certificate, which then gets a little bit easier. We can't really promise you will be able to do that. I think specifically we had a class just recently that is just opened up now, CS336, which is like building LLMs from scratch, which had very, very hard also prerequisites. So it's definitely a kind of hard thing to do, right? So we will try to teach you a lot of the kind of the background concepts that go into that. But I think in terms of application, I would always encourage you to kind of take a look at the page, like trying to get familiar with the syllabus and kind of the learning objectives. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can let us know. if you are interested in more kind of the business or the healthcare side of the portfolio, we definitely have some applicable content depending on what you are focused on. So maybe if we do have the product managers, the class kind of focus on kind of like using AI in developing and like product innovations. That will definitely teach you kind of like how to understand the market and kind of apply it in your product management job. But like here in the graduate and professional program, we are talking more about the technical concepts or the coding, right? And kind of like the technical aspects of AI. So hopefully that answered some of those questions about kind of the objectives or like kind of what you are able to do with each of these.
And just in terms of the length, and again, as Petra said, the programs we're talking about now are very technical. They are very time intensive. So for the graduate certificate, you have up to 3 years to complete the coursework. Each course is going to be roughly 10, will be 10 weeks long. And, you should expect to spend probably between, 150 to 200 hours, to maybe 250 hours working on that course. So you can think of it as somewhere around 1,000 hours. That's a very rough estimate but of work, right? And across maybe 3 years. And the professional certificate, again, looking at those, it's going to be 3 courses between 100 to 150 hours per course. So you're looking at 300 to 500 hours of coursework for those 3 courses. So they're both there's a lot of time commitment that's involved in them. There's some flexibility about the cadence or the kind of speed at which you fulfill that time commitment, but they're hard programs. And once you're enrolled in one of the classes, it is a lot of that time commitment is, some of that time commitment is concentrated in those 10 weeks that you're pursuing the course. So, yeah.
I think that's it, Pax. I don't see anything else. If any of you have any other questions or if we missed something, hopefully you did find that email as part of the invitation to this session. And let us know if you have any follow-up. So we have a team that can kind of get back to you. But we hope we covered at least kind of the major questions that you were curious about. Maybe I will summarize for the professional program. If you are interested in taking the class, we are kind of having classes on an ongoing basis. And the next one coming up would be Machine Learning with Graphs on April 7th. And again, if you are a little bit more new to the subject, I would probably kind of direct you to the August 4th and Artificial Intelligence Principles and Techniques, depending, again, like on your background, experience, and interest. And maybe Pax, if you can tell them next steps, or if they're interested in kind of knowing more or enrolling in the graduate program, what should they do? That might be helpful.
Yeah, so again, our enrollment for the graduate programs will open April 7th. I encourage you, we just did an informational session that went over the whole graduate portfolio. You should be able to find that on Stanford Online, the YouTube channel, to be able to watch some of those sessions as well. In general, again, encourage you to go take a look at our at the YouTube channel as well as the Stanford Online. And once enrollment opens on April 7th, you'll be able to go into our catalog and just look at the courses that are available for enrollment now. You can select credit bearing or academic credit. Stanford, I think it's actually Stanford Transcript is the filter, and that'll pull up all the courses that are available for enrollment through the graduate program. And again, a lot of those are for the AI graduate certificate. I think this summer only machine learning is available. We have a smaller course offering in the summer. But there are a lot of computer science courses that are available, especially if you're someone who's maybe looking to brush up or to build up that programming background.
And with that, thank you so much. Have a nice morning, afternoon, evening, day, where we are joining us from, and hope to hear from you and see you in our classes.